Hey folks, this is Kalani. It looks like Blizzard wasn't altogether too happy with how patch 8.3 has been shaping up recently, especially two major components of the patch. Daily quests might not have been as enticing as the dev team had originally hoped because they are getting a massive buff. And when I say massive, I mean like if you hadn't done any dailies up until this point, it might not matter at all in the grand scheme of things. The buff is that big. Really. And then on the flip side, corruption effects have been causing all sorts of havoc, but most importantly they kind of muddle the lines between gear upgrades thanks to just how powerful some of them are. So some of them are getting some well-deserved nerfs. Let's check out the details. For daily quests, this is pretty simple. Previously, they weren't all that great in terms of rewards. They would give you 50 coalescing visions and 75 reputation. With them being the only source of decent, reliable reputation, anyone who wants to reach Exalted with the Rajani or the Uldum Accord anytime soon would probably have been doing all of their daily quests anyway, but mainly for the rep. The Coalescing Visions reward didn't really put a dent in the 10,000 required to enter a Horrific Vision, thanks to the Vessel of Horrific Visions price tag. Thanks for that, Rathian. You can't make a vessel for less than 10 grand. We'll have to talk about exchange rates one of these days, but getting 50 for each daily wasn't really worth that much. It wasn't worthwhile to do the dailies just for Coalescing Visions, which means if you weren't interested in the reputation grind, you could happily skip over the dailies without a second thought. And I'm guessing that's what was happening, and the dev team were taking note. I mean, either people just weren't doing the daily quests all that often because of the lackluster rewards, or the dev team just felt it in their hearts that the rewards needed a buff. I'm going to go with the first one, but either way it leads to the same conclusion, a huge buff to the daily quest rewards for both the Veil of Eternal Blossoms and Uldum. Each daily used to give 50 Coalescing Visions, they now give 250 Coalescing Visions, so the buff makes one daily more valuable now than your entire set of dailies for a zone before. That's kind of insane, and it makes me wonder why patch 8.3 shipped with the lower daily rewards. I thought the whole point of the dailies only giving 50 Coalescing Visions was so that they didn't really matter. It's a nice little boost that will add up over time if you have the patience and playtime to actually get them done every day, but if you skip over them, it's not going to affect you too much in the long run because you need 10,000 Coalescing Visions to enter a vision, and 50 towards that really is just a drop in the pond. But the tables have turned. With 250 Coalescing Visions per daily quest, that's going to add up so much faster. If you tack on the War Mode bonus, you get 275 Coalescing Visions per daily. If we get 6 or 7 dailies each day, you should get around 1,750 Coalescing Visions every single day if you're doing them with War Mode. That brings the daily quest total up to about 12,500 for the whole week if you do every daily quest available. That's already another vision right there. With this single change, we went from getting 3 visions on a reliable basis to getting 4 visions incredibly easily. That's going to change the Horrific Visions game plan quite considerably and will both allow you to save vessels faster but also play more Horrific Visions outside of just for legendary upgrades. If you play just for legendary upgrades, you'll cap out at the maximum of 5 vessels in your bag plus 25,000 Coalescing Visions in your currency tab pretty quickly. So you actually have some choices now. You can either stop farming at that point and just wait for the next week, or you can do your dailies, assaults, minor visions and all that jazz, and play more Horrific Vision scenarios. Either way you look at it, this is a huge change which can only benefit anyone who enjoys the Horrific Vision system. I've seen a lot of players ask for more access to the visions. Well, if you get all of your daily quests done now, you can enter 4 visions per week very easily, up from 3 before these buffs went live. It doesn't stop there though. Another key daily quest that provides Coalescing Visions is the Minor Vision daily quest. This used to provide you with 1,000 Coalescing Visions per day after the first quest, so it was always an extremely valuable daily to get done. If you did nothing else for the day, like we were doing with our alts, you should at least do this one quest. That way you're at least getting something done, and this is always the most valuable daily activity. And that's not going to change because this quest was also bumped up quite a bit. It now rewards you with 1500 coalescing visions every day after the first, so that's another huge increase to your potential daily coalescing visions. An extra 500 a day just from this one quest, or 3500 per week for 5 minutes of work every day. That is an insane boost and could push us closer to being able to run 5 visions a week. We're going to see some major overlap here eventually, so you may only get 4 visions one week, but definitely 5 visions the next. It's not quite as open as just giving us access to the horrific visions outside of the vessel requirements, but giving us the ability to earn more coalescing visions from time-consuming content is a decent compromise, I guess. I'm actually excited to be able to run the several visions each week and save towards the rank 15 mega farm that will eventually pop up later on down the line. These changes also mean that when we eventually get to rank 14, that shouldn't take quite as long, and rank 15 should be considerably faster with the extra visions every week. If you weren't too interested in the coalescing visions buff, for whatever reason, it's also worth noting that the daily quests also had their rep rewards bumped up too. Instead of 75 reputation per daily, they're now rewarding 125 reputation per daily. A 50 rep increase per daily quest you can complete should get you well on your way to Exalted much sooner than before, so look forward to those rank 3 essences and the end of another reputation grind. So some massive buffs for the daily quests and the horrific vision system there, but where there are buffs, there are usually nerfs to balance out the universe. Somewhere, somehow. Oh look, it's the corrupted gear system. Depending on how lucky you've been recently, you may have gotten your hands on some pretty insane corrupted effects. The Infinite Stars, Echoing Void, Lash of the Void, and Twisted Appendage effects have started to stick out like sore thumbs because they provide a ridiculous damage increase for a simple bonus effect. It's not like you have to grind your way through difficult content or even kill specific hard bosses in the raid on the hardest difficulty. Nope, all you have to do is get lucky and you can start stomping every DPS meter you come across. Seriously though, these effects can be crazy powerful. I think the Infinite Stars effect was simming at about a 20,000 DPS increase by itself on a single target. That's absolutely insane. Literally, if you do nothing else but proc Infinite Stars, you would do 20,000 DPS. That's bonkers no matter how you look at it. One of our Windwalker monks actually got the Intellect Sword from the raid last night, and it sims as a massive upgrade for his DPS spec, even though it's an intellect weapon. It doesn't have any agility on it, but he's still using it in his offhand just because of Infinite Stars. That's just hilarious. But honestly, I love that these effects are actually powerful. They have to offset the negative corruption effects somehow, and being powerful is probably the best way to do that. But there is a bit of a problem with how they were working. Because so many of these effects were scaling off of your attack power or spell power, it could mean that a really low item level piece of gear, we're talking 415s and 430s, could be worth way more than heroic or even mythic raid loot. Imagine never replacing a 415 weapon just because it has Infinite Stars on it. That would feel a bit weird. The only way to actually replace it would be to get a higher item level piece of gear with the same or better tier of Infinite Stars on it. So the power level of those things wasn't really lining up with the item level of the gear it was appearing on because of how it was scaling. It also meant that any player ability or effect that increased your spell power or attack power would also kind of send these things way off into the moon. It was crazy. So, incoming changes and nerfs. The first big change is that these effects will no longer scale off of your attack or spell power. The effects will instead scale directly with item level. So the higher item level piece of gear you get with an effect on it, the better the effect will be. Pure and simple. There's also another little nerf for the Lash of the Void effect that will also now proc less often. Part of this nerf also changed the base damage of Infinite Stars, so we shouldn't see as many crazy outliers like the 20,000 DPS increase from a single corruption effect. It's worth noting that not every powerful effect was caught in this round of nerfs, and Echoing Void is still doing particularly well, so if you're benefiting from that corruption effect, keep your fingers crossed that it stays powerful. These changes aren't too surprising, though I hope it doesn't nerf the overall effect too much. Having a higher item level piece of gear benefit more from the corrupted effects makes sense in overall progression terms, but if they nerf the powers too much with this change, I think it could all backfire kind of badly. I guess we'll just have to keep an eye on how everyone does in logs and sims to really see the extent of these nerfs. I'd love to do some testing personally, but I have still yet to get any corrupted effects, outside of the very first one that you're guaranteed to get from the intro stuff, and another effect on my hands that is probably going to get cleansed when I get one that's actually good. Some players in my guild are running around flaunting their 100 plus corruption sets, which they're obviously not allowed to run in any raid that we do, but them simply having the option of that many corrupted effects does make me a little green with envy. We'll get there eventually, I'm sure. There's some corrupted gear waiting just around the corner. I can feel it. Just one more dungeon, one more raid boss. Oh well, it's fine. The Mythic Plus cache was giving everyone corrupted gear on the PTR, so hopefully that's still a thing. If you haven't gotten any corrupted gear yet, that's something to look forward to on reset day. So make sure you absolutely get a key done this week, otherwise you're going to miss out. I'm super happy about the daily quest buff, even amidst the other nerfs. Being able to see some real progress towards your next horrific vision from the daily content feels awesome, and having more horrific visions to run is only going to be a good thing. It seems like that slice of the patch has been very well received indeed. The only problem is that you can only get in there so often. But what do you think about the buffs to the daily quest rewards, both for the coalescing visions and the reputation? What about the nerfs to the most powerful corrupted effects already? Is it better to scale the items off item level, or do you think they were fine as they were before? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.